All 347 ships. Complete annihilation. Stunned silence filled the chamber. How? Counselor Zeltak whispered. Vexthera zoomed in on the tactical display. The humans evacuated their entire population to underground shelters. Then they turned their planet into a weapon. The display showed something impossible. Human engineers had modified their planet's geological structure, turning their own world into a massive kinetic projectile launcher. They had sacrificed their surface infrastructure, their cities, their irreplaceable ecosystem, to create a planetary defense system from the planet itself. When the Synthoid fleet entered orbit, Vexthera explained, the humans launched pieces of their own world at them. Mountain-sized projectiles, accelerated by controlled tectonic shifts. The humans destroyed an entire invasion fleet by weaponizing their home. The chamber was dead silent now. But the real concern, Vexthera continued, isn't their unconventional tactics. It's their mindset. Every other species in the galaxy fights to minimize losses, to preserve resources, to maintain strategic advantages. Humans fight as if loss is irrelevant. She brought up another display. Our psychological warfare experts have analyzed human military communications during conflicts. When other species face overwhelming odds, they surrender, retreat, or negotiate. When humans face overwhelming odds, they get angry. General Korth leaned forward. Angry? Not just angry-inspired. They tell stories about impossible victories, about heroes who faced certain death and chose to fight anyway. Other species have survival instincts. Humans have spite. Vexthera looked around the chamber at the increasingly uncomfortable faces. Counselors, we have conquered 47 worlds by following predictable military doctrine, superior firepower, overwhelming numbers, conventional tactics. But humans don't follow conventional anything. They see our superior technology and ask not, how do we surrender? But how do we use this against them? High Admiral Krexnor's scales had lost their luster. What do you recommend, General? Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, mutual defense pacts. Anything except war. Vexthera's voice was grim. Because if we attack them, they won't just fight back, they'll learn from us. And a species that can turn their own planet into a weapon while learning our technology? She paused, letting the implications sink in. They won't just defeat us. They'll become us. And then they'll become something worse. The War Council of the Galactic Dominion voted unanimously to avoid human space. Some victories, they realized, were too dangerous to achieve. Commander Zik's third eye twitched as she reviewed the latest planetary assessment report. The holographic display flickered ominously in the sterile command chamber of the galactic survey vessel Prudence. Around her, the diverse crew of xenobiologists, threat analysts, and diplomatic specialists waited in tense silence. "This can't be accurate," muttered Dr. Kelvor, his chitinous fingers clicking nervously against his datapad. No inhabited world has ever scored higher than level 12 on the Killworld classification index. Zik's primary eyes remained fixed on the swirling blue and green planet rotating slowly before them. Earth. Such a deceptively beautiful name for what their instruments revealed to be one of the most lethally hostile environments in the known galaxy. "Run the analysis again," she commanded, though she knew the results wouldn't change. The Galactic Survey Corps had spent 3 centuries perfecting their planetary threat assessment protocols. The equipment didn't make mistakes. The ship's AI, speaking in its characteristic monotone, began reciting the preliminary findings: atmospheric composition, toxic oxygen levels exceeding safe parameters by 300%. Gravitational field, crushing force equivalent to 2.3 standard gravities for 73% of known sapient species. Temperature variations, extreme fluctuations capable of flash freezing or combusting most organic matter within planetary cycles. That's just the baseline environmental hazards, interrupted Senior Analyst Korth, her bioluminescent patches flashing amber with distress. The real threat comes from the dominant species. Zix turned her attention to the detailed biological survey. The inhabitants called themselves humans, and according to the data, they were perhaps the most terrifyingly adaptive predators the galaxy had ever produced. They consume ethanol as a recreational intoxicant, Korth continued, her voice rising with disbelief. A substance that would dissolve the nervous systems of 12 different species represented on this ship alone. Their young engage in play that involves launching themselves through the air from elevated platforms. They deliberately expose themselves to stellar radiation for aesthetic purposes. Dr. Kelvor's antennae drooped. Surely there's some evolutionary explanation. Perhaps they're naturally armored or possess regenerative capabilities? That's the most disturbing part, Korth replied, her patches now flashing a deep red. They're fragile. Incredibly fragile. Their bones break easily, their skin tears at the slightest provocation, and they die if deprived of oxygen for mere minutes. Yet they've somehow convinced themselves they're invulnerable. The holographic display shifted to show various human activities captured by their long-range sensors. Zix watched in horror as the creatures willingly plunged from aircraft thousands of meters above the surface, trusting their lives to primitive fabric contraptions. Others hurled themselves down frozen mountain slopes at lethal velocities, apparently for entertainment. "Look at this," Dr. Kelvor whispered, highlighting another data stream. "They've weaponized their food. They deliberately consume plants that trigger pain responses in their neural tissue and call it spicy cuisine. Some varieties can cause permanent damage to sensory organs." Commander Zix felt her secondary heart skip a beat as she reviewed the cultural analysis. These humans hadn't just survived their hell world, they'd thrived on it, developed their entire civilization around embracing danger. They created competitive events where participants deliberately injured each other for sport. They built dwellings in areas prone to natural disasters and seemed genuinely surprised when catastrophe struck. Mam called Navigator Prex from his station. "We're receiving what appears to be a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Zix ordered, though every instinct told her to maintain their distance.